Okay, Luke, do you want to come up for your item 10, your procurement at council?
Yeah. I was just saying, could you tell me what you did? Because obviously.
Okay. Good morning.
It's enough.
So just a bit of background on this one. ACOM and Deloitte did a couple of reports on running the waters activity around the use of their panels and engagement of consultants and contractors. Following that, I brought a paper to the Risk Management Committee to talk through how our processes contrast with that. Following that, Audit and Risk asked if I could come along here and just present this report that covers off the entire procurement cycle across the entirety of council. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you. That's a really useful report. I found it really valuable and good to be that front facing so that people can understand our procurement process.
Yeah.
And I guess how it's not like that.
Yeah,
which was kind of the objective. So does anyone have any questions on this? Yanni?
Just just was kind of thinking about the way in which the big companies tend to dominate in the market on a number of things, and looking at the changes that we've made to go to more local, smaller firms for, I think it's project management around water.
Oh yes, yeah.
So I was just really interested if there was any reflection on that type of approach being rolled out in other things that we do in terms of procurement. So looking to use more local, small boutique companies rather than very large multinationals, etc.
Well, in short, that's always considered every time, pretty much, and it depends on what type of outcome we're after. With that design one, that was a small part of a wider scope that's multidisciplinary. That's probably is still best suited to the larger companies when you want to do an end-to-end design. But we ring-fenced off that contract management portion, which is only a subset, and hopefully we'll gather up some smaller companies that way.
So things like legal, for example, I know in the past we've tended to use one or two big, we tend to have quite large contracts or large expenditure with one or two big legal firms.
Yeah.
Are we looking to kind of look at using more local, smaller firms and looking at the comparison between value for money versus, and I guess just,
the firms on our panel have Christchurch-based offices, and when we go out to the market, we try and make it as wide as possible to enable the small and medium-sized firms to come in as well. And there is some work that goes out to those smaller firms. As much as anything, it's the nature of the work that we do requires or lends itself to firms of a much bigger size, just the sheer volume of work and what we do. But we always, when we go out for our legal panel, we do very much try to encourage the Christchurch only small, medium-sized firms to find something in our requirements that they can supply.
Okay. So thank you. Yeah, appreciate the report.
And then Kelly, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, but just wondering in terms of once the contract has been fulfilled, do we rate the contractors on a number of scales on value for money, speed of doing the job, etc. And is that available? I imagine it's commercially sensitive, but
yeah, so it's something that we're working on. There's a rating scale that I use called the PACE rating scale. That's something that we're trying to implement a bit more consistently across all the different activities we do. Yeah, so there is a facility to do that, and we are working on trying to gather all that information and make it a bit more consistent about how everyone's doing. It is something that's quite objective and balanced and cuts across all the different types of parameters that we're all interested in. So yeah, it's something that we're working on.
Because I'm sure you would have subjective thoughts about different contractors and what they can do and can't do. Is it the sort of thing that we would be exposed to, or the procurement sort of a subgroup of council, I guess?
Yeah, so it broadly falls under the concept of track record, which is something that we almost always look at, certainly in an open market tender, and certainly if it's funded by NZTA. because it's one of their mandatory, well, not mandatory considerations, one of the key considerations that they have. So it is something that we look at. What you're talking about is how we measure it, but irrespective of that, we still ask them to evidence their performance in the contracts and examples that they provide. So it's still looked at and considered and scored in any open market tender. Does that cover off?
Pretty much, yeah. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. I'll move it. Yanni, you're happy to second? Great. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Luke. Really good report.